Good morning. This is Grant Haddon here with Haddon Farms. Done a paddock move this morning. That's the grass that we got ahead of us. And then here's some grass that they're on right now. This is my view this morning before work. Notice no bawling, no crying. Everybody's happy. They were sitting there waiting at the next paddock. But this is not a rotational grazing video. This is a dung beetle video. So the cows, these cows that I have right here that I bought, I think 6-7 months ago, have never been wormed ever. They never had any kind of fly control. They are 50% South Pole and 50% Beefmaster. Now they were bred to 100% South Pole bulls. That is ultimately the breed that I'm trying to get towards, not because I'm an Alabama fan, which I am, not Alabama, the football team, Alabama, the band. Teddy Gentry designed this breed to be very parasite resistant, slick-hided, which cuts down on the flies a lot, and also very heat tolerant in the South. Also red. The red supposedly helps with the heat tolerance as well. But to go back to the worming, they've never been wormed. They never had any kind of fly control. And I just kind of wanted to talk about what we're doing, or what I'm doing, to try to minimize the flies and parasites without any kind of additives. Now, I will say this, I'm gonna show you some cow patties. They were on the paddock yesterday afternoon, so they are about 12 hours old. And if I had to take a guess, there's one mama looking for a calf. If I had to take a guess, it's probably got 50 to 60 dung beetles in it already. Now, when I first brought them over here, I got on both sides of the fence. That's my uncle right there, and he's on the other side also. He worms all of his cows. Now, my granddad, who I look after his cows, he has not wormed or given them anything in probably 20 years. The reason being just, such a hassle. It cost a lot of money. And, he told me it seemed like every year he would have to have, more and more wormer. So I would not recommend doing this on cattle that have been wormed their entire life. This is something you kind of got to wean yourself away from. You're going to take chances. You might lose a few. You might have some go down in body condition. And if you do, my recommendation would be to go ahead and get rid of those. Ones that cannot cut it without any kind of supplementation as far as, pesticides or herbicides or anything like that, or pesticides in particular. Animals that cannot cut it, you have to go ahead and get rid of them. You have to be the predator in your herd. And saying that, kind of like with this hot wire, I keep them in tight. I make them graze tightly. We'll talk about rotational grazing in another video. But as far as being the predator to your own herd, what that means is, the weakest ones, 1,000 years ago, or even in Africa right now, the weakest ones, the ones that could not cut it, one, they would not breed back, so they would not pass on their genetics. And two, they would get eaten by lions, they would get eaten by wolves, they would get eaten by whatever would cut out the weakest links. Now, we cannot cripple ourselves and continue to, carry these cows that cannot cut it with just grass alone. The price of feed, the price of grain, the price of everything is just really cutting in. Now, cow numbers are up. Cows are doing pretty well right now, but they might not always do that. So I'm trying to build a herd, and I'm hoping if I, don't lose any and everybody does well and everybody breeds back, I can get my granddaddy and my uncle kind of on the same page as I am. Now, I'm going to show you the dung beetles, but they came from the wood line first. So the reason that you don't want to worm them, and like I said, don't just start out doing this because you might run into some trouble. This is something you slowly got to work into. I was fortunate enough to buy cows that never been wormed. I started seeing them come from the tree line first, which tells me they were there already. And now we are probably, 500, 600, 700 yards from the tree line in the woods, and we had them everywhere. It does not take 10 minutes before dung beetles come from the ground and start attacking the cow patty. Now, what that does is reduces your repugnancy. If you have a cow patty sitting there that's been treated with ivermectin, or if the cow's been treated with ivermectin and then passes into the cow, and then the dung beetles basically the cow patties basically become toxic and harmful to any kind of insects. So yes, you're getting rid of parasites, but at the same time, you are, you're creating a cow patty that nothing wants to break down. And cows don't like eating around cow patties. So if you can get them gone in a couple of days, that does several things. One, it's going to cut down on the amount of flies that you have. The flies lay their fly larvae into the cow patties, and then they come up out of that and attack your cows. And two, you're going to have less parasites. The parasites, I think in particular the brown stomach worm, it goes into the cow patty. It has this larva there. It comes out of the cow patty, goes onto the grass. The cow comes back, it snips the grass and ingests that parasite. So one thing that we're doing, I'm going to talk about two things today that we're doing for fly control and parasite control. One is the dung beetles, and the second one is salt and apple cider vinegar. So let's go check out a cow patty that's being attacked by these dung beetles. All right, so here's one from, I'm guessing either this morning or last night. I don't know how fresh it is, but we're gonna see if it has any. So you can see the line. I think you can see the line. You can see the line where they were last night and where they are now. Now, here is a cow patty that looks extremely fresh. So I'm gonna scrape that to the side. There's one right there. I hope y'all can see him. See him running around? So we got one in this one. Oh, there's another one. All right, so two in this one. Let's see if we can find a little bit older one. Now this is probably from last night also, or either this morning. I don't see, no, I do see one. There's one right there. There's another one coming out. I know this is kind of grotesque, y'all, but this is in the name of science. So let's go to an older one. All right, so this is crazy. So this is last night's paddock, kind of like the ones we just looked at. There's a few. There's one right there. But look at the difference. So the ones I just showed you are all the same little paddock that they were on last night. Now here's the difference in yesterday morning, so 24 hours. Look at this cow patty. That's last night. That's yesterday. I mean, an absolute drastic difference. And I bet you this one is absolutely loaded. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's just more coming up. Let's give them a little bit more of a shake. There's another one right there. Here's another one. Almost completely degraded. This one is pretty much gone. And this is only 12 hours. Now, when I first started seeing the dung beetles, it would take them about 2 days to smoke these cow patties. Now they're getting them gone in, I don't know, nearly a day. I mean, this is almost gone. And you can see that dirt right there and this dirt right here. That is where they're burrowing holes and taking them into the ground. So one, we're getting rid of the cow patties, we're cutting down the flies, we're getting rid of the parasites, or a home for the parasites. But two, we are transferring our nutrients into the ground. So here's another one. That one's 3 days old. There's almost nothing left. And then the farther we get, this is probably 3 days old now. I mean, almost non-existent. So it's pretty cool. So let's look at number 2 and 3 of how we are managing our flies and parasites also. So I wanted this to be more of a dung beetle video, and I'm gonna hit on these on the next subject. But another thing we're doing for fly control and parasite control is trying to increase the alkalinity in the blood of the cattle. So there are a lot more people. I'll try to find some links and post a video below who can explain this a lot more. But basically, the more alkaline your cows are, the more parasite resistant they will be. And the more alkaline level, higher the alkaline levels in their blood, the less desirable they will be for flies. So one method, which you cannot even see because they cleaned it up last night, is apple cider vinegar and molasses to entice them to eat the apple cider vinegar. You gotta have raw apple cider vinegar. And I do about 5 ounces of a cow, 5 ounces per cow every time I treat them. Now, that stuff can get costly. I would not say it's the best method. It just seems like here in August, the flies got a little bit worse. So I decided to come at them swinging. But one thing that I wish I'd have started earlier is the next program that I'll show you, which is sea salt and minerals. So here's our water tank. You can see how fresh and clean it looks, as opposed to a tank that's not been treated. But basically what I do, I give my cows around 11 to 12 pounds a day. I want to try and get, I think it's 2.5 to 3 ounces. I'll have to check on that. I think it's 2.5 to 3 ounces per animal. So what I do is I take this Redmond sea salt that is mined in Utah, so it has no plastics, no any kind of trash in it. And you can also buy human grade Redmond real salt. I've actually been eating it for several years because it's very healthy and high in minerals. And so I treat the water every other day with 11 pounds. Now, what that does, one, when they take these minerals in and release them into the ground, it will raise the bricks in your grass. You can Google that. There's plenty of other people who can explain it way better than me. But it will raise the bricks in the grass, making the grass more nutritious and add more minerals to it. But it also increases the health of the cows and withdraws toxins in that animal. So the less toxic animals that you have, or the less toxins that are in your animals and the healthier your animals are, the less susceptible you will be to parasites and flies. And the less susceptible you are to parasite and flies, the healthier your animals are, the better they can express their full genetic potential. So I know I'm throwing a lot on y'all. This is just a dung beetle video, mostly. I'm gonna hit on the salt a little bit later. I think it's doing good. I wish, I've only been doing it for a couple months now. I wish I'd have just started doing it before they started calving, but everything's going good. It is what it is. I wasn't able to get my hands on any. You do have to buy it by the truckload. I was able to find somebody close to me who had some, Mr. Barrel Landis. I sure appreciate it. But yeah, the dung beetles are doing awesome. I'm excited. One cool thing, there were no dung beetles in Florida. I hope y'all can see me because of that sun. Not Florida. There were no dung beetles in the country of Australia, or continent of Australia. And they brought dung beetles from Africa. They introduced them, and they increased their forage production by 30% within the first year. So they introduced them. Next year, forage production went up 30%. So what did they do? They could run 30% more cows than they had on there. So you had, whatever, do the math. You had 10 cows, you could run 13 after just introducing dung beetles. So, God has designed all this, I feel like, in a way to, handle a lot of the problems we have. Now, again, what I'm doing, the rotational grazing, it's not completely natural. The cows can't roam for miles and miles and miles and getting away from their, feces and getting away from parasites that have come up out of the ground and pick the best. So, we're doing what we can, the best we can, to simulate kind of, I guess, what the bison would have done a long time ago. Now, a lot of this stuff is, kind of trial and error. I've never done it before, but everything seems to be going pretty good. I've ran, I think, 25 mamas and a bull and all of their calves on roughly 20 acres all summer long. And the dung beetles are getting more and more and more. So I expect forage production to be better next year, which means maybe I can run more cows. I can run more than just having, 25 cows on the 20 acres. I do have 10 acres stockpiling. Maybe I can keep some of my heifers and run 6 or 7 more. So all good stuff. If you enjoyed this, just leave us a comment. If you have any advice or tips for, somebody who's kind of newly doing it, drop a comment, something like that. Kind of open to anything right now, or just your thoughts on any of this stuff in general. But yeah, appreciate it. Haddon Farms, give us a like, follow. And if you want some all natural, grass-fed, grain-finished beef, just give us a shout. We also have grass-fed, grass-finished cows for sale. We don't have that. Those will be half orders or whole orders. The rest of the stuff we can piece out. But yeah, give us a like, give us a follow, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and yeah, that's it. We're out of here.